Hello, and welcome to another 30-Minute Thursday. My name is Amit. It is 2 p.m. in the overcast Pacific Northwest. It is Thursday afternoon, and we are live on Facebook. I hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, staying healthy, staying sane. Seems to be more and more challenging every day, but hope everyone's doing really well with all these things, and that you're getting ready for a beautiful weekend, which is rapidly approaching. Gosh, we definitely could use that. I remember the song by Foreigner. Yes, I'm old. I had it on LP. For those of you that don't know, that's a long play album. If you don't know what that is, ask your grandparents. In any event, they had the song Everybody's Working for the Weekend. I work on weekends, so as far as I'm concerned, the weekends are just another beautiful day to help people with their home purchase financing. But for those of you that do have plans for the weekend and are looking forward to them, I hope you get there soon, and I hope you have a good time. Let's just jump in and talk about what's going on. More of the same, really. Right now, it feels like we're in this kind of lull period. You know that old saying, the calm before the storm? I feel like we're kind of in that to a certain degree. Economically speaking, there's all sorts of pressures. There's all sorts of questions. Which way are rates going to go? What's going to happen with inflation? What's going to happen with the economy in general? Will we have a recession? Will there be a sell-off in the S&P 500? Will there not be a sell-off? My short answer to all this is yes. Not to be flippant, but change is a constant. There's no way around this. We're definitely going to see some things. We've already seen some things. So what can I tell you about the state of real estate today and the mortgage industry? Interest rates are up. They're about up 1% year over year. That's a pretty big number, but they're still historically low. So they're somewhere in the low 4% range right now. When I started in the year 2001, they were 6.75%. So not even in the same arena, not even in the same conversation. Will they go down? I hope so. When will they go down? I have no idea. My expectation is that they will start to kind of stabilize once the Federal Reserve Board starts doing its job and actually increasing their short-term rates and tightening the monetary supply. And I've been discussing this on and off now for weeks, if not months, but we've got inflation driving the rates up, and the way to get inflation under control is to take money out of the supply, basically out of my pocket, your pocket, everybody else's pocket, and have that go into, basically make it so that it's harder for us to spend money. And by not spending money, prices will come down, the rate of inflation will come down, and in theory, that's what the Fed's going to do. The question is, will it work? And more to the point, when will it work, and when will they start, and what will the future bring? You know, I wish I knew. The future is always in motion, but historically speaking, it has worked. It's not worked without pain. And there's always a consequence to everything. And the consequence in the past was that the stock market, the S&P 500, sold off and went down significantly. And the Fed's trying to avoid doing that. And the question is how? How are they going to do that with very few tools and very limited sort of options? I don't know. We'll find out. But regardless of what I think or what you think or what the Fed does, the fact of the matter is that I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, we all must live somewhere. We all have to have a place to live. And even if you are planning to sit this one out and wait to see what happens after the Fed does what it does, and you're thinking that it will have a negative impact on the housing market and that opportunities will abound and that suddenly you'll have the opportunity to buy, wow, something just happened to my camera here and my face looks all lit up. That's interesting. But in any event, for those of you that are thinking that this is going to happen and you're going to have an opportunity to buy real estate in 2009 and 2010 prices, let me just tell you that that's probably not going to happen. First of all, there are huge organizations out there like BlackRock, Blackstone, Invitation Homes, and a variety of other, which word I'm looking for here? I'm sorry, I just went blank. Publicly traded companies and hedge funds and other large institutions that are just licking their lips and waiting, as they say, for the opportunity to snatch up every property that hits the market that is in distress. So the idea that you and I are going to get there and we're going to beat the big boys and we're going to walk in there and catch all these opportunities, I think is far-fetched. I don't see that coming. I don't think that we're going to have a tumble. I think everyone that has real estate, most people have equity in their real estate. And if they do have some sort of economic hardship, they're going to be able to sell their homes with equity, meaning that they're not going to sell them cheap. They're going to sell them at market values. They're going to put that money in their pocket. And you may be the beneficiary of having more supply on the market, but that's not going to eliminate the demand, nor is it going to make that supply suddenly, 50 cents or 75 cents on the dollar. That's wishful thinking. I don't expect that to happen. So you can wait it out, but here's the other thing. While you're waiting it out, rents are going up. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, you have to live somewhere. There's a reason why I buy rental properties. There's a reason why BlackRock and Blackstone and Invitation Homes and a lot of these other massive publicly traded companies and massive institutions and massive hedge funds, there's a reason why they're buying single family rental homes as well. And that is simply because rents are going up, and they have gone up. The reporting on this is kind of behind. All the economic data kind of lags the actual events, but the rents have gone up anywhere between 12% to 25% year over year, depending on what market you're in. So if you're thinking that, you'll just ride this out and save your money and wait for an opportunity to buy real estate on the cheap, you may find that all that money gets absorbed by rental payments, and that you don't really have the savings that you were expecting to have as a result of just increased rents. I have several rental properties. I think I've shared my strategies with you, and my tenants have been very fortunate that I was willing to do a 2-year lease for all of them. So they're all locked in until, 2023, 2024, depends on where we are in the cycle, but they're relieved because I'm not jacking up their rents. The trade-off is I expect to be paid rent on time, and I expect for them to not trash my homes. I want them to take very good stewardship of my properties so that I don't have to do a lot of maintenance and other things to bring them up to speed if and when they do move out. But I try to be very respectful of my tenants because I know that people have to have a place to live, and we are in this together, and it makes a system. So if you guys are planning to sit through this one, whatever this looks like, and say, in a couple of years, we're going to have a kind of realignment of things, over those 2 years, you may very well see your rents go up anywhere between over 2 years, 20 to 50%. I mean, that just may very well happen. So if you're paying $1,000 a month in rent right now, and your rent goes up to $1,500 a month, how's that going to help your savings for a down payment or for anything else for that matter? Everything goes up, and your rent is definitely going to be part of that. So take all this with a grain of salt. Not coincidentally, of course, builder sentiment numbers came out today. Builder sentiment is one of the metrics that the government kind of tracks and scores and indicates, like, where are things in the economy, and the home building sentiment is one of those things. Now, keep in mind, as I've shared with you in the past, that new construction for single family homes makes up about 10 to 15% of the total inventory. So this is a very small fraction of the total market, but the builder sentiment is still really high. They're feeling really, really good about things right now because they are seeing, even with inflation, even with the hardship of getting certain materials, whether it's refrigerators or dishwashers or laborers or whatever it is, roofing nails, I don't know what their supply chain challenges are, but I know that we have them. Whatever it is, they still feel really good about this, as well they should, because they know that there's a bunch more people wanting to buy homes than there are homes, which means prices will continue to go up, which means their profits will continue to rise, which means that, they should feel pretty good about that. I don't have a dog in that fight one way or the other, but these home builders are capitalists, and many of them have publicly traded companies where they've got shareholders and everything else, and they want to return a good result for their investors, and that's in the form of profits. This is still a capitalist society for a little while longer, at least. We'll see what happens later on, but as it stands right now, they feel really good about life, and everything suggests that they should continue to feel very good about life. And so for those of you guys who are thinking that this is the beginning of a massive realignment, and that you can sit this out and wait for prices to come down, wait for values to change, wait for interest rates to come back down, you might be waiting a while for all of those things to kind of fall into alignment. Rates may come down in the next few months. They may come down in the next 18 months. I don't know exactly. I expect that they will come down once the Fed gets its arms around inflationary pressure. But will prices on homes come down? Probably not. If anything, I think that the rate of increase may slow a little bit. That doesn't mean that it goes backwards. It just means, picture yourself driving on the freeway. You see a cop sitting there looking for, for a traffic stop, looking for speed traps. So you take your foot off the gas a little bit, the car slows down. It doesn't mean that the car is going backwards. It just means that you're not going as fast. Same thing with what I expect and what most smart money expects to happen in the housing market. It will appreciate at a slower rate. Doesn't mean it's going to go backwards. Doesn't mean that the house that you paid $500,000 for today in a year is going to be worth $450,000. In fact, I think that that's highly suspect math, and I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong, but time will tell. And I think that we're going to see this going for a while longer. And again, I've explained why. I don't want to bore you guys with the demographic story and all the millennials who are forming households and chasing the values of homes upward as they need property. But in some markets, especially the Seattle area and the greater Pacific Northwest, we just don't have nearly enough opportunities. People need a place to move before they sell their current home. Right across the street from my home is a small development. This is what we have in the Pacific Northwest. It's a 3-unit development, right? They bought a home, they tore it down, they found a way to get 3 homes on what was a 1-home site, which is amazing. They're crowded, they're wedged in there, no doubt about it, but they're offering, I think they're going to hit the market at a ridiculous number. I mean, astronomical number from what I think. I'm thinking somewhere around 2.5 million is where they're going to list these things. And I don't live in a neighborhood that walking in the door, you're going to say, wow, this is a $2.5 million neighborhood. It's becoming that way. And that's really impressive. And great. I bought right and I've got a wonderful home and yay. But how do I cash out on this, right? Like, what do I do? Because I got all this equity, but I'm not selling my home. First of all, I love where I live. If you guys see my posts on Facebook on occasion, that view that I post is from upstairs, right up those stairs. I love that view. I can't replace that view hardly anywhere else. Where am I going to go? And, even if I take a ton of money off the table in equity and appreciation, then what? Where am I going to live? This is the same problem that everybody else has. You typically are not going to sell a home until you have a home to move into. And so this is why 85% or 90% of all the inventory, which is pre-owned homes, is kind of locked up right now because no one's going to sell until they have a place to move. And if I can't buy, then why would I sell? And so this is kind of the challenge that we have right now with regard to the supply issues in our current market, and I don't see that changing. Now, I know that there are people who are selling homes here and taking all that cash off the table and buying in Arizona or in Texas or in Idaho or in Montana or you name it, and that's great. Good for those folks. If you want to leave, by all means, I wouldn't argue with you. I just got the bill for my car tabs came in today, and it's the first time I've literally thought like this is something that may actually get under my skin and cause me to want to leave the state. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving the state. But at some point, people just decide to make a switch or decide to live in a place where taxes are lower, where it's easier to get by, so on and so forth, where the cost of living is lower. And they will. They'll sell their homes here and they'll move to another state. But all things being equal, those are onesie twosies. And we've got millions of people that are looking for homes to buy, and we've got a deficit. So again, where are you going to live? What are you going to do if you're just stuck renting and you want to wait that out? Feel free to do that, but it's going to be a while. I don't see this changing for the next 7, maybe 10 years. And who knows what the world's going to look like in that time. I can't believe that some people don't even remember what it was like in 2019 before COVID happened. It's very hard to remember what it was like without masks and vaccines and the conversation constantly being about something like this. So Who knows what 10 years brings? In the meantime, I got to deal with the present, not the future. So my suggestion is, if you're thinking about buying a home, still the best time to do it is right now. The Chinese have a saying, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So let's talk about where your situation is right now. Let's talk about how we can get you into real estate, how we can make your offer as competitive as possible, what you need to do to prepare to be a strong buyer, to write real offers. Please talk to your real estate partners, talk to me, talk to another mortgage lender who's qualified. Don't go online and talk to somebody who's a chat bot or an order taker. If you don't go to me, that's fine. I'll cry about it a little bit, but I'll get over it. But go to somebody who's a professional, who's got experience in this market and in this industry, who's actually qualified and competent to give you real advice, as opposed to just somebody who picks up the phone or responds to your email or chat stuff. But figure out what you can qualify for. Figure out what those payments are going to look like. If you've been sitting on a pre-approval letter for the last 2 or 3 or 5 months, waiting for the right home to come by, call me, call your other mortgage lender, whoever it is. Make sure that you're still qualified, because rates have gone up. And if you're not qualified, then there's no point in looking until you make sure that you still qualify in the new rate environment. And if you do find a home and you are ready to buy a home, my advice is that you don't pay too much out of pocket to buy down the interest rate or to do other things in advance because the rate's higher than you're comfortable with. I was talking to a colleague yesterday, and he's got a client that's going to pay 1.5% of her loan amount to buy down the interest rate by 0.5% on the note rate. She's going to spend $8,000 to save $80 a month in payments. Now, to me, that's really a bad idea. First of all, it's going to take years for her to recoup that money. If you think about it, take $8,000, which is the out-of-pocket cost, and divide that by 80, which is the monthly savings, and you're looking at 100 months. That is basically 8 years, a little bit more than 8 years, to recover $8,000 out of pocket. That's money she could be spending on furniture. That's money she could be spending on moving expenses. It's money she could be spending on fixing up the place. It's money that she could be doing a whole lot of other stuff with. But psychologically, she is just not comfortable with the interest rate where it is. And I understand that. That's up here, and I get it. But what's going to happen is in 12 months, give or take, once we see the Fed get their arms around it, maybe it's 18 months before the Fed gets its arms around the inflationary pressure, but once they do, the natural response of the long-term interest rates, which is what mortgages are, the natural response is to come down with inflationary pressure coming down. So if inflation comes down and the rates come down, what's going to happen? We're all going to refi. I'm going to refi every one of the deals that I'm doing right now as a candidate for a refinance in 12 months, let's say. I don't want to load up a bunch of fees paid up front to get your loan done today, because I cannot save you enough money on a refi in a year's time to make up for that $8,000 in this example that you spent out of pocket to buy your rate down. There's just not enough change in the rate to make it worth your time and worth your while to refinance. The rate would have to come down by more than 2 percentage points to get there, to make it worth your while to absorb that $8,000 up front that this particular client is paying to buy down her interest rate today. It's okay. That's her choice. It's her money. And I give her full credit for doing what she thinks is best emotionally and psychologically. But from a math standpoint, I would say that extra $80 in monthly payment, while it might hurt, while it would be more comfortable to look at your mantle place and look at that shiny trophy, that low interest rate, while that might be a psychological thing, from a financial perspective and from a future perspective, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because we are expecting at some point in time, once the Fed gets its arms around inflation, once hopefully supply chains do get sorted out, because that is part of the entire problem as well. It's not just the cost of things, it's the fact that there aren't as many things available because supply chains are compromised, because delivery dates are extended, because we still have container ships waiting to offload their stuff. Once all that kind of straightens out, we're hoping to see inflation come down and long-term interest rates will come down with it. and that's when we're going to refinance everybody. So short term, here's my advice. Let me check my time. We're good. Short term, first things first, it's still a great time to buy a home. Interest rates are still ridiculously low. Ask anybody who bought a home prior to the year 2000 and 2006, what the rates are like and what the rates were like. And I'll tell you that anybody who bought a home prior to the last 15 years is going to tell you that these are still phenomenal rates. So don't get too beat up about that. Number two, your rent is going to go up. I assure you it's going to go up. And it's going to be a surprise when it does go up. So you're still going to end up paying more. Might as well make that payment towards something that you're going to build equity in, something that you can control the destiny of, and something that you can call home, truly home, and that's something that you're going to enjoy an appreciation of value over. I was not expecting this home to appreciate in as much value as it did. I've been here for 5 years, and my home value has doubled. Now, that's not realistic. It's not reasonable. I don't expect for that to happen every 5 years for every home in every market. But I will say that an appreciation of value is something you can expect when you own a property. Even if it's 2%, which is what the Fed wants the rate of inflation to be, if it's 2% year over year and you own the home for 10 years, guess what? You've got a 20% appreciation of value without anything else pushing that up. Plus, you've been paying your mortgage, and so you've been reducing the amount that you owe over those 10 years. That is a huge value appreciation, and you'll get a nice return on that once you do sell the home if there's some place to move to. But you get none of that as a renter, and you still have to live somewhere. So you might as well buy your own home. You might as well tough it out. As I tell my self-defense students, put your mouthpiece in, get your hands up, tuck your chin, and go. This is the only way we're going to win. We can't just sit on the sidelines and hope for the best. In my opinion, the best defense is a good offense. And so if you want to get into this market, it's still a great time to do that. If you think things are going to get worse before they get better, by all means, sit it out, because I've got a lot of clients out there who would much rather not have to compete against you and everybody else. So it's a trade-off, guys. But I don't think that things are going to change on the demand side for a long time to come. And looking at this builder sentiment, which is still really, really record high stuff, they don't think that things are going to change anytime soon as far as demand goes. And these are institutions, the large building companies, publicly traded companies, they have economists and they have actuaries, and they've got people much smarter, much better than I am at crunching numbers. And that's what they're telling us. So I got to follow the experts on this and say that, they're in the business of making money, not losing money, and their business is selling homes, and they still think that this is a great environment for that. They wouldn't be building as many homes and ramping up production as much as they are if they didn't see the future to be pretty rosy. So no time like the present, other than 20 years earlier, which unfortunately we don't have that luxury. So get into this market, call me, call your real estate professional, call another mortgage lender, just make sure they're good at what they do. Talk to them about what you can afford. If you've already gone through this exercise and you need to revisit it, I'm calling all my clients and discussing with them, hey, look, interest rates have gone up since we did your pre-approval. Let's talk about your buying power. Let's make sure that you can still afford what it is that you're looking for, because things change, unfortunately, sometimes for the better and sometimes for the less good. So we're just kind of working through all this stuff. But all things being equal, we still have a phenomenal industry here. We still have, you got to live somewhere, as I keep saying, might as well be someplace that you own, and might as well be someplace that you have pride of ownership in, where you know that your payment isn't going to go up from month to month to month, unlike your rent payment, which will go up year over year. So this is kind of the spiel where we're getting a little bit close to our time. I apologize for not going the full 30 minutes, but some of you guys are going, phew, that's good, man. That was a pretty solid 25 minutes and a lot of other stuff to discuss later on. So I am going to cut short for today. I will be back next week with more information, with more statistics, with more guidance. And I'm waiting for you guys to send me your questions, to either call me or text me or DM me or whatever it is, and let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you're thinking about. Let me know where things are. Next week, I want to revisit the idea of a cash out refinance. As I mentioned, I've got a ton of equity in my home right here. A lot of you folks have a ton of equity in your homes. What do you do with it? How do you get it? What can you do with it? Where can you spend it? Where should you not spend it? Let's talk about that, unless something changes, or unless somebody throws over the transom some kind of really compelling question about real estate and mortgage finance, and I'd be compelled to answer that next week. So until then, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, really, for spending 30 minutes with me, for listening to me jabber on, for just keeping me company on a random Thursday afternoon. I will see you next week. Until then, have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, stay sane, please. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.